has to be my bloodline.
Why not find out in 2 months instead of almost 7 months?
I mean, you going through.
I gotta know that he's my bloodline to take care of him.
He's going through Facebook to find out and asking people on the street, but he won't go
showed me.
DNA test to find out.
Somebody came to me and told me about it.
Mrs. Kelso here insists that she is just 22 years old when she in fact looks 40. But her age isn't the dispute she wants this court to settle. Instead, she has brought 2 men to court to figure out which one is her baby's child. One of the men, she says, could be her child's father. Jamal Davis says he is certainly not the baby's father because he has seen Miss Kelso with at least 10 other men. And here is how it all began.
Kelso, you are in court today to prove that Mr. Davis is the father of your 9-month-old baby, Connor Kelso.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim Mr. Davis has done nothing for your son, so you're suing for half the child rearing expenses in the sum of $2,561. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that seems like an easy maths question that we can figure out. Ms. Kelso has a calendar which she says proves that all of this happened during the window of conception, and her calendar does prove it. But what does Mr. Davis have to say about that?
Mr. Davis, does this look familiar? Were you with Ms. Kelso on January the 7th?
As far as that particular date, I'm not for sure. I was definitely with her during that time frame, though. Yes, yes, Your Honor.
You were?
Yes.
So, Ms. Kelso, you admit that you were also with another man?
Yes, Your Honor. It was Mr. Hafner.
Without protection?
Yes, Your Honor.
Unfortunately, it is not so straightforward because Ms. Kelso was also intimate with another man during that time frame, but there is another line of evidence here. Mr. Davis is black, and this other potential father is white, and the baby's skin is getting darker, according to Ms. Kelso. Here is how she puts it.
When the child came late, did you ever think to yourself, maybe it's Mr. Hafner's child, not Mr. Davis?
I just go by the conception date, and by the way that my son looks, I see it in his skin color. The more I see his skin get darker, but that could also be Mr. Hafner's family because they're half Puerto Rican and they have dark children in their family as well.
Well, he certainly is away from you now, isn't he? So Ms. Kelso said he should stay away, and now she is crying in court that he actually stayed away. Talk about instant karma. And since then, Ms. Kelso has spent over $2,000 on raising the child. How much has Mr. Davis contributed to that? Can you guess? Because it is a lot of money. Okay, just kidding. It is just $10. But he has a very good reason for that.
Ms. Kelso, you say that he hasn't contributed at all to the child rearing expenses you've incurred thus far.
No, he has not. And I have put together a little draft of the expenses that I have had to purchase, things that I've had to buy for my son since he was born.
I'd like to see those. Did you bring the receipts for those purchases?
No, I did not.
How much did they cost?
They were very low cost, and I mean, some of them were dollars. I mean, no more than $10 for all of them.
Wait, hold up. Wait a second. Ms. Kelso says she stopped being promiscuous when she met Mr. Hafner, but she actually cheated on Mr. Hafner with Mr. Davis. So she clearly did not stop being promiscuous. But she has a really good excuse for doing that too, if you can believe it.
That was the exact date.
The exact date.
And
that's the day I met him, that's the day that I started sleeping with him, and that's the day that I started dating him, the day I met his family. They're all here present today. And the only reason that Mr. Davis is in the picture is because I had been cheated on by Mr. Hafner, and so I cheated back with Mr. Davis.
Well, having revenge with your genitals is precisely the sort of thing that gets you here in front of all these people. And Mr. Davis talks a lot about Miss Kelso being promiscuous, but he still sleeps with her without protection. Isn't that insane? Well, you probably will not believe this, but he also has a good excuse for that too.
That's all I was interested in.
And were you using protection all these times?
No, we weren't, because she told me that she was medically unable to have children. And in the 4 months that we were together, she never so much as had a scare with her. And we met, I can count with one hand. I don't even need all 5 fingers on how many times we've used condoms. And all of a sudden she's pregnant.
Are you
and all
proud
of a sudden
of
I'm the father. No.
This does not even make any sense. Pregnancy is not the only reason why you should not wet hump without protection. There are like a trillion STDs that you could get infected with. Anyway, let us hear from the other man, Mr. Hafner.
Mr. Hafner, thank you for joining us today. I have to ask you, do you think baby Connor is your child?
That's what I think.
You do?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so, have you done anything for Connor thus far? Have you helped in raising him?
Yes, Your Honor. I have been feeding him, being there for him, showing him I love him.
Yeah, maybe. And I'm going out on a limb here. Maybe that is because they are only a few days old in that picture. Anyway, you get the sense that Mr. Davis wants to get out of being responsible for this kid in literally any way he can. Let us see if the DNA test result will grant him his wish.
Mr. Hafner, you are not the father. Mr. Davis, you are the father. Do you need to sit down, Miss Kelso? You need to sit down. Okay.
People.
Ms. Sanders says you should never deny a pretty baby even if the baby isn't yours. She says that another man signed her baby's birth certificate, but she is now claiming that Mr. Brady here is actually the real father, not the poor guy who signed the birth certificate in the first place. The question now is, if Ms. Sanders could lie to that man, how do we know she is not lying now? Well, we are about to find out.
Ms. Sanders, you admit to having another man sign your 6-month-old son Caleb's birth certificate, but now say that Caleb's real biological father is the defendant, Mr. Jamarvis Brady.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that Mr. Brady is your son's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Exactly. The baby could be pretty and still not belong to Mr. Brady. It is insane that Ms. Sanders here thinks that is a good enough reason for Mr. Brady to take care of Caleb. Let us pick Mr. Brady's mind for a moment. Why does he doubt this beautiful child is his?
Does he visit the baby?
I came through the neighborhood one day,
reason why
and he asked me if he could see my baby.
Why would I take care of a baby that's not mine? Why would I visit a baby that's not mine?
Look how pretty my baby is. How can you deny a pretty baby?
I don't care about the baby being pretty. I care about if the baby's mine or not.
Why would
I
you
take
wait
care of
this
my
long?
responsibility, not another man.
That is a valid question. Green eyes don't just come out of nowhere, but maybe there are green eyes in Miss Sanders' family, and that is exactly the argument that Miss Sanders makes. She says green eyes ain't bigger in her part of town.
Starting with my grandparents, my grandma don't have green eyes, my granddaddy don't got green eyes, my mama or my daddy, her either, obviously. Me, I definitely don't have green eyes. I'm trying to figure out where these green eyes come from that's on this baby.
Maybe Miss Sanders has green eyes.
How many times have women told the potential fathers of their kids to get lost, only to turn up on paternity court asking Judge Lauren to get those men to take responsibility? So many times. But Ms. Sanders says she has a good reason for doing that.
Because I didn't want to be with him no more. So he got mad because I got back with my ex. He said he don't want me, but he constantly texts my phone, somebody, so what's up?
I come to the house, dudes coming and going all the time. Like, I left her house.
How you gonna tell me that dude's coming and going, but you not?
I left her house and the dude came through, the same dude who she was texting.
How you gonna get
came through while I was pulling out.
This back and forth is tiring. Mr. Brady says that he was there for the pregnancy. Ms. Sanders says he is nothing but a dirty liar, and that he was never there despite the pregnancy being so difficult. But Mr. Brady says that he did not care because he thought the child wasn't his. And he has a really dumb excuse.
Mr. Brady, I gotta ask you, she's going through a lot here. Why weren't you there?
Your Honor, when I tried to take care of him and all that, she told me she didn't need my help. And plus, why would I take care of a baby that's not possibly mine?
When I was pregnant, he never even cared. I don't think he cared about was some shoes. When I first told him that I was pregnant, I called Mr. Brady and I told him, I said, I'm pregnant, I want to let you know. He just sat on the phone.
Well, that is true, but you should have also thought about that before having unprotected intercourse with someone who can't even take care of himself. But more on that part about an ex signing the birth certificate.
But he says you had another man sign the birth certificate.
Yes, my ex-boyfriend, before me and Jamarvis got together, I was with someone. And to get back at my ex-boyfriend, me and Jamarvis started talking. So after me and him stopped talking, I got back with my ex. And my ex, he was real understanding. He was just saying, you know, we just gonna work through this. We gonna, you know, to have this baby, we gonna do what we have to do. And he was the one who was actually there when I had my baby.
Phew, this is a lot. So the other man has been tested, and Ms. Sanders says Mr. Brady is the only other option. Well, that means that he has to be the father, right? Well, let us see what the DNA test has to say about all of this. Is Mr. Brady the father, or is there someone else who could be the father?
Mr. Brady, you are not.
I told her that wasn't my baby, Your Honor.
Sit down.
I told her.
Sit down over there.
Come in front of this podium.
Stand right where you're standing.
I told her, Your Honor. I knew it wasn't mine. 100% positive.
Miss Sanders, he said he was positive.
So who the
I don't
other
understand.
possibilities?
I really don't understand.
So it's not your ex's, it's not his.
It was no one else. It was no one else.
Had to be.
Ms. Janelle Craig has claimed 3 different men to be the fathers of her adult child, Chanel Craig. Today, Ms. Chanel wants to know if the man she called father her entire life is actually her real biological father. The father in question, Tracy Thompson, also believed he was the real father, but now a shocking revelation has changed his mind. Let us listen to Ms. Chanel.
Ms. Janelle Craig, you are Ms. Craig's mother. You admit to sleeping with more than one man at the time your daughter was conceived, yet you argue you don't understand why she's still looking for answers.
Right, correct.
Now, Mr. Thompson, you say you always assumed you were Ms. Craig's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
But then you claim a startling revelation caused you to question paternity.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, Ms. Janelle has a great explanation for this disconnect. She says that that man was her ex-boyfriend, and the man Chanel got introduced to later on is her real father. And here is how Miss Janelle even told Mr. Thompson that they had a baby together.
I saw him and his wife in a tavern, and I walked up to him and say, "Hey, baby daddy, we have a child together," and they're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Him and his wife were just at a tavern?
Yes, and I walked up, say, "Hey, baby daddy." He's like, "No, I don't have any kids." So I'm like, "Yeah, we have a 10-year-old child together."
Yeah, Judge Lauren. Miss Janelle literally had no option but to drop that bomb like that. What did you expect her to do? Use some tact? Really? Tact is for losers, and Miss Janelle here does not lose. Let us see what Mr. Thompson thought about that approach anyway.
So how did you find out that
I remember
Chanel...
seeing Chanel when Chanel was a baby. She was a small little baby. She was one, but I came out of prison. She was a little baby, and I came by her grandmama's house. Her mother wasn't there.
And You're lying. You never told me that. And I don't even believe you went to my mama's house.
The fact that this is even being debated is insane. Someone here is a really crazy liar. And Judge Lauren has to figure out who that is immediately. In fact, Mr. Thompson has a totally different recollection of how he got back into Chanel's life.
How did you get back into her life?
Chanel auntie had gave me a call and told me that Chanel needed me and told me that her mother was gone away and she needed me badly. And she asked me if I could come back and get into her life.
Okay.
And that's what I did.
And so even though you had doubts when you saw her when she was a child, when you got this call from her aunt that she needed you, you came back again.
Correct.
Wow. So Mr. Thompson left after all that. And then he came back when Chanel was around 15. But Chanel just was not having that. And they could not build a relationship. Of course, this somehow caused an argument between Ms. Janelle and Mr. Thompson, and it went like this.
But he wasn't around that long. He came back when I was about to turn 17, 2 months before my birthday.
Things wasn't going too well with her and the relationship they was having, because Janelle
That's mother and daughter, but how do you come in from being gone 7 years and say, "Oh, you can come live in my house"? Again, she don't know you.
Wait, what does Janelle mean she raised Chanel? Because this kid was in foster care for long stretches of her life. Anyway, Mr. Thompson still never believed that Chanel was his child because her birth certificate had a different name. So this was so confusing for Chanel.
When I got back in touch with him, his girlfriend and her kids was telling me that he was saying that he didn't think I was his.
Because somebody else's name was on her birth certificate. That's why I didn't believe it.
I told you that when I first met you. Back up again.
Chanel told me that when she turned 16.
I said
she showed me her birth certificate because she needed an ID, a state ID.
Yeah, you objectively didn't do that, Ms. Janelle. The state helped you raise your child and you did a bit of the work, but not all by yourself. But if Mr. Thompson met Janelle as a virgin, why does he even have any doubts in the first place?
In this relationship, you said she was a virgin.
Correct.
So why is it you have doubts if you're Chanel's father if you thought she was a virgin when you were...
Look how it come to me. It came to me as in, like, this is your baby. I ain't never seen her pregnant. I've been gone.
Whoa. Mr. Thompson really doesn't want to fight that battle again. That's probably why he is very hesitant to acknowledge Chanel as his without the blood test. Well, let's see what the truth actually is. Is Chanel Mr. Thompson's baby, or does the child belong to another man?
Miss Craig, Mr. Thompson is not your father.
Sorry, Neil. You can give me a hug. I'm your mom and dad. Don't matter. I'm still your daddy. I love you. I'm sorry.
So I can tell you wanted to just hear that he was your father to have that closure.
Yeah, because he the only man that's in my baby life right now.
Ms. Webster had to go to church to pray to God to reveal who her real father is. She had grown up thinking that her real father was Mr. Smith, but now she has reason to believe that it could be another man, Mr. Ware. Both men are in court today, and we are going to get to the bottom of this case with or without God's intervention. So let us get started with Ms. Webster herself.
I heard a relative say that that's not none of your father. So I started questioning. I asked my mom, I talked to Mr. Smith, like, why are they saying that I'm not a part of their family?
When you questioned Mr. Smith, what did he say?
He said, "You will always be my daughter. I believe in my heart that you are, and no matter what, you'll always be my daughter."
Wow. And it doesn't end there. Ms. Webster says that relatives of Mr. Ware even signed on her birth book and brought presents. That means they at least suspected that Mr. Ware could be the father of Ms. Webster. But Mr. Ware says that he was always told that Miss Webster was another man's baby, and he basically took her word for it. And Mr. Ware got no information about the child either, and then they lost contact. And here is how Mr. Ware said it.
A couple of years after that, I went into the military.
Okay. And when you came back, no one said to you, you may have a child?
No one said that to me, and the mom had moved back to Ohio, so I never saw her for years.
Were you there? When her mom was pregnant?
Yes, I was there when her mom was pregnant. As a matter of fact, we continued to date at that point.
Wow. Anyway, Ms. Webster then started searching for Mr. Ware after realizing that he could be her father. She went to his church and then poured out her heart to God to help her reveal if he was truly her father or not. And then this happened.
All right, so let's fast forward to the day you finally get to meet Mr. Ware.
We went to visit him at his church. I just been praying, you know, that I find out who my father is. There's things in my life, there's roadblocks and stumbles I've been going through. There's things that goals I'm achieving, and knowing who my father is one of them. And I came to the Lord. I went to the altar. They had altar call, and I went up and I just prayed that God give me a sign to reveal.
Whoa, that could be a miracle. But despite Ms. Webster's faith, that is not actually evidence that Mr. Ware is her father. In fact, it is not evidence of anything, and any court would throw that testimony out. But Ms. Webster says that Mr. Ware has to feel it too, because he is a deacon and a spiritual person. But Mr. Ware insists that he knew nothing about it.
When I was down, no, I didn't know who was standing there when I got up. You know, I get up and I turn around and he's right there. So, I mean, something, it's gotta be some energy, it's gotta be something. It can't be in vain. You are a deacon, right?
Yes, I am.
And he's a spiritual person.
Did you know it was her? Did you know it was Miss Webster, this baby?
I did not.
That you knew before she even left the womb? Did you know?
No, I did not know at that time.
So Ms. Webster feels a connection, but Mr. Ware feels absolutely nothing. Wow, that is cold. And then Mr. Ware drops a line that makes everyone in the courtroom shiver. He looks Ms. Webster right in the eyes and says this.
So you did not feel a connection like this could be my daughter? The way in which she says your mother reacted when she met her and said, what took you so long?
No, Your Honor, I did not. The fact of the matter is that you are not my child. I love you like a child.
That must be so painful for Ms. Webster. But you can tell that there is no malice in his voice. He just truly believes that Ms. Webster is not his child, and that is that about that. Now, let us hear from Mr. Smith, who basically raised Ms. Webster. What does he have to say about all of this?
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Smith. As you know, we're here discussing the paternity as it relates to Ms. Webster. You have been paying child support.
Yes, I have.
But you don't believe you're her biological father.
No, I don't. I can tell you why.
Please.
Miss Webster was born September the 17th, which means that she had to be conceived either late December or January of 76 or late December of 75. I was in the United States Army, stationed in Fort Hood, Texas.
Wow. So how did he end up paying child support? Well, Mr. Smith said he just did it because he was raised to do the right thing and because he was also naive. That is insane. Thankfully, Ms. Webster's mom is also in court today, and here is her side of this insane story.
Mr. Smith also came home on leave. Once we got together, Mr. Smith went back to the service, and then I was pregnant. When Mr. Smith called me one day, I said, you know what? I'm pregnant.
I've never received that call, Your Honor.
Yes, you did.
When I come home from the military, I got a letter in the mail stating that I had to come down to the child support. When I got there, Miss Webster was like, Miss Brady was there.
That is a lot. So who is really telling the truth? Ms. Brady here says she has no doubts that Mr. Smith is her baby's father. She is positive and certain that the father is Mr. Smith. Well, let us see who the father really is. The DNA test result is the only way to clear up this entire story.
Mr. Smith, you are not her father. Are you surprised?
Hurt? Yes. Surprised? No.
I thank you for everything that you've done for me.
Always, baby.
I appreciate you, and like you said.
Always. Always, sweetie.
You just told me you were sure.
I thought I was sure. I thought I really had it in my heart that Mr. Smith was her dad.